Okay.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday, May 6th, meeting number 14 of the Welch School Building Committee. We are presenting this meeting via the Zoom platform and with the assistance of Peabody Access Television. So we want to welcome everybody who may be watching and of course all the members who are here participating. We will have a chance for public comments at the end if anyone wants to call. I know the contact information is, I believe it's at the bottom of the screen on the PATV link. So calling the meeting to order, I'm going to go first through the attendance and then we will move into approval of the meeting minutes and then we'll get into the really interesting part of the meeting. So this morning, I know Mayor Betancourt was not going to be able to be with us. If he can pop in, he will, but he wasn't, he just didn't think he'd be able to. So let's see, is Joe Scanlon here? Okay, I know Josh.
I'm present. I'm unmuted now.
Oh, good, okay. Thanks, Joe. All right, Josh Vidala, Dr. Vidala is here.
Yes.
Jared Hockman.
Morning, everybody.
Okay, hi, Jared. Let's see, Jim Hafey.
I'm here. Morning,
Hey.
everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, guys.
Good to see you. Okay, Pete McGinn.
Good morning.
Hi, Pete. Ryan Melville. Oh, actually, I know Ryan was going to be a few minutes late. We'll check on him in a little while. Michelle Massa.
Good morning.
Hey, Michelle. Karen Migliozzi. Okay, we'll come back. Ed Colbert, I saw you, Ed. I know you're here.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Jillian Gonzalez.
I'm here. Good morning.
Hi, Jill. Jen Dort.
Hi, everybody. Good morning.
Morning.
Beth McGivern. I just saw Beth.
Good morning.
Hello. Carrie Ann Wheeler. Hi, is Carrie Ann with us today?
Carrie's here. She's just in the lobby having some technical difficulties.
Okay, all right. And then let's see. We have Dan Doucette.
Morning.
Hey, Dan. And is Dr. Lord here? No? Okay,
Right
that's
here.
okay. Oh, you
Morning,
are? Okay. Hi, Chris. Thanks for coming. All right. And then Mike Burton and Christina Delangelo. And I know Rachel Donna Denisco. Okay, Vivian Lowe. Is Jeff Oxalita here?
Yep, he should be present as well.
I'm here. Thanks.
Oh, okay, Jeff. And then just checking on Mike Cox and Terry Hartford. Are they with us this morning? No. Okay.
Here, Bev, it's Terry.
Oh, okay, Terry.
Mike
Very-
Cox is present too.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you, guys. Is there anyone I didn't call? Okay, all right. Moving on. We're going to I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of March 25th.
I make the motion to approve the meeting notes of March 25th.
Okay, Ed, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Was that Beth McGivern?
Yep.
Very good, thank you. All right, are there any questions, amendments, corrections to the minutes? Hearing none. Oh, does someone have one?
No, I was saying I don't have any.
Oh, okay, Ed. Well, I'm going to go through the voting members. We'll vote to approve the minutes. Let's see. Josh Vidala.
Yes.
Okay. Jared Hockman.
Yes.
Jim Hafey.
Yes.
Pete McGinn.
Yes.
Okay. Michelle Massa.
Yes.
Okay. Ed Colbert.
Yes.
Jillian Gonzalez.
Yes.
Okay. Jen Dort.
Yes.
Okay. Beth McGiven.
Yes.
Okay. Carrie Ann Wheeler.
Yes.
Okay. And is Kara Megliosi online yet? And Ryan Melville, either of those two?
Kara's not here today.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. And Ryan's not here yet. Well, the motion passes. Thank you all very much. And thank you to, I believe it's Rachel that puts together these minutes with Christina, and they're wonderful. Thank you so much for doing a good job on the minutes. Okay. The next item on the agenda is a design update. So I'm going to turn this over.
Actually, Bev, we're gonna do CM procurement update first.
I'm sorry. I see that on the screen. My paper is out of date.
We
Okay.
made a last minute change on you, Bev.
That's all right. No problem. Okay. I'm going to turn it over to Mike and Christina. And this is going to be interesting, everybody. Believe me.
Good morning, everyone. So we wanted to walk through with you kind of our CM procurement and milestones and just recap our schedule of what we've done over the last few months, as you know, with the CM procurement and as well as with the CM selection subcommittee. So we received our proposals back in April, and we also interviewed 4 firms that had submitted to us. The 4 firms include Commodore Builders, Consigli Construction, Daniel O'Connell's, and Turner Construction. And so we interviewed them last week, 428 and 429. And we're going to talk about those interviews with you today, as well as us the CM selection subcommittee making a recommendation to you. So as I'd stated, we had interviewed the 4 firms that are listed on the screen. And I would say the most important factors and core focus and values for the city of Peabody as the 4 firms were being interviewed as well as being reviewed included MSBA experience, Massachusetts K-12 school experience, as well as phased occupied renovation project experience. And I will say that my experience, and I'm sure that Bev will talk about this as well, as far as the 4 firms, we were very happy and pleased to see that we had 4 very qualified firms submit and also interview for the project. They all did a fantastic job, and I will say that all 4 firms are very qualified and could have done a great job on this project. So I know it was really hard for overall the selection to make the overall evaluation based off of the review of those 4 firms. So with the CM selection subcommittee, we were able to put together an overall evaluation sheet that went through the proposals themselves, so the non-price and price portion of the proposals, as well as the evaluations for the interviews themselves. And so you can see on the screen here, based off of those 4 firms, the lowest value equals the most advantageous. And Consigli Construction overall was ranked the lowest based off of those criteria that the CM selection subcommittee reviewed. And so I'm going to turn it over to Bev at this point to provide any comments and updates to the subcommittee or to the full committee based off of overall subcommittee review.
Okay. Thanks, Christina. Yeah, everyone, this process was very intense. I will say there was a lot of work that went into this. I'm afraid no one will ever volunteer to be on a committee with me again when I say it'll be fun. But it was fun. But it was incredible amounts of research. And we were all provided with written materials from each of those 4 firms. Actually, the 4 firms that you're hearing about came out of the entire process. Those were the 4 highest ranked that we wanted to continue to pursue and look into them further. So the members of that subcommittee read through the presentations, read through their responses to the RFP, and then we ranked them overall. Then we ended up, requesting these 4 to come back and have an interview. We conducted interviews actually last week for 2 days, and each firm had an hour and a half at least to provide their presentation and to answer questions. It was really surprising to see the different presentations that they made with their ideas on how they would phase the project. And that was actually really, really cool because the differences were very telling in many, many instances. And we kept going back to the overall requirement that we, the city of Peabody, all of us on the committee, wanted MSBA experience because this really is a very complicated project. And with all of the requirements of MSBA and the steps that need to be taken in this project, having someone who's done this type of job before was really important. The other thing was finding people who had experience with occupied buildings. That's a huge piece of the complication of this project, because not only do they have to plan the construction, they have to plan it around our day-to-day operation of a school and be very mindful of safety. So we looked at those aspects and asked a lot of questions in that regard. And it really came down to 2 discussions amongst all the members after the interviews were over, discussing all of the things that each of us had noted during those interviews. And I'll be honest, it was very helpful to me, and I think for the other members too, to hear what other people picked up upon. And that helped to make our decision. And then this Monday, we had another meeting and we really hashed it out, talked about, again, the things we had noticed, the things that we felt, each individual person wanted to highlight, and then came up with the decision of ranking on that interview. You can see the ranking there. And Consigli came out on top. They're experienced, they've got a lot of MSBA experience, and they've done, dozens of MSBA and school projects, occupied projects, great safety record, experienced team. They will bring a lot of, they have a lot of contacts. They have a good reach for subcontractors. And again, another piece of this is making sure that we've got everyone able to work on a very aggressive time schedule. So we did inquire into each of the firms, who came in on time, and this is what we've come to you, and we feel confident bringing this recommendation to you. Today, we'll be asking for a vote of this subcommittee, the full school building committee, to move this forward to the mayor with a recommendation that he will enter into negotiations with Consigli Construction. And everybody's happy to answer any questions anybody may have. And Christina and Mike and Donna, please feel free if I left anything out, but I think that gave a good, a good overview for everyone of what went on. It was a good project, really good project. And for those of us working on it, it was interesting, a lot of fun.
Yeah, Bev, that's a good recap, and we just want to make sure that everybody here should have access to all the information that was provided, not just the RFQ, but the RFP price and non-price proposal, as well as the interview presentations. So everybody should have access to that. As Bev said, I think we were very fortunate. We had 4 very good firms. Any one of them could have done the project. And it was, tough to get to number 1, but at the end of the day, working with those goals that we had aligned with this group as well as the CM selection committee, I think we've got a good CM and we're excited to get on to the next phase.
Mhm. Did anyone have any questions about the process or about the firms or anything? And was everyone able to access the online materials? Christina, I'll be honest, I'm having trouble with my computer apparently. But I had trouble yesterday accessing the 4 additional items.
Yeah, Bev, I was also unable to access that, Bev, this piece.
Yeah, let me take a look at that. Maybe there might be like a restriction on the file. I apologize for that. So let me look at that after the meeting and I'll resend out all the files again.
Yeah, and everybody, it's a lot. It's a lot to look at, but it's always there available for everyone to see. It said 403 error on mine. I don't know if that's what you kept getting, Pete.
That's exactly what I got.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got also, Bev.
Okay.
I will figure out what's wrong with the file access and I will resend it out as soon as we are done with it today.
Okay. Thanks. I will tell everyone that
Quick question, Bev.
Sure.
Thank you. Is there, I don't know how the pricing piece of it came in. Is there a quick way to kind of summarize the pricing differential from between the 4?
Boy, I'll be honest, I would have a hard time explaining it because it was complicated because they were, each of them had, and correct me if I'm wrong, Christina, each firm had different terminology from where I stood on the different pieces of this contract. So looking at the actual pricing and the way that it came out, it was based upon the being able to absolutely come in on Peabody's budget. That was one thing that had to happen. So people who could do that, they got more points as far as being able to do that. And then another way that the pricing was looked at is on, it was hard to compare, like some people they all had different rates, but then when you look at, and again, when you figure out, like in the interview, when they answered questions, their abilities to keep costs down among the subcontractors was figured in on the pricing as well. So
Bev, I can
because I don't want to confuse everybody, but that's how it was presented, and that's how I understood it.
Yep. And so essentially at this phase of the game, since we're hiring the CM to help us build the schedule and the phasing and logistics, so the end cost isn't known, but what we do know at this point is the CM's fee and their rates, and they were all pretty competitive. We will, on this slide here, as you can see on the price portion, Consigli was higher as it relates to fee and rates. However, they also had a schedule that was shorter in duration. And so they were all very competitive, pretty close. And so all of that information, you should have access to, and we can try and share that again if there's a problem with that. But they were pretty close, pretty competitive. And at this point, again, really what we're locking into is fee. Okay. And so as we go through schematic design, we're going to understand more about how we're going to phase it, what the overall duration of the project is, and so forth. So I'm not sure if that answers the question, but
it does, Mike. It helps just to know that they were in a relatively narrow competitive range, that there wasn't a broad distribution of pricing. Is that fair?
That is fair, and I can share with you. I'll send you an email as soon as we get off this call with all that information if you don't have it already.
Thank you. Thank you, Bev.
You're welcome, Pete. Yep, when all the numbers were crunched, as I say, they were very different, but really close. And making sure that we had expertise and experience, and as I said, those contacts, the ability to keep costs down, that all did figure in on the analysis in the final decision, being able to look at all things. I don't want to say equally, because each thing is very individual. You know, there was the firm experience and the pricing, and then of course their interview. But when you put it all together, that's how we came out with Consigli.
Bev, could I weigh in a little bit on some of the points just now?
Sure, Dan.
I think one thing to keep in mind is that this is the first construction management contract that the city has entered into. It's a learning experience for us, but not the OPM, and certainly in this case, not the recommended firm. What the process gave us, as opposed to design, bid, build, is the ability to look under the hood at some of these companies who are well qualified, experienced, and knowledgeable, to see, as Mike pointed out, some of the details of price, which we would never see in a design, bid, build contract. And it gives us a way further down the line when we enter into what's called the guaranteed maximum price, or the GMP contract, which really locks in everything. The ability to work with Consigli on fine-tuning some of these numbers so that we get the best value out of the team at the point of construction. And finally, what I want to point out is that the other thing that we learned was several different approaches to phasing from well-qualified companies, and we have the ability now, based on those ideas, to put those into the mix as we talk about with the school and the team, some of the ways that we can manage the project. So Consigli had some wonderful ideas that nobody else did. Other companies had ideas that Consigli didn't talk about, but mashing them all together and selecting the best of each one, we have that ability now, and we're going to have a very busy summer as we look deeply into the building to see what we can do when we actually start construction and bid out the project for next summer. Thank you, Bev.
Oh, you're welcome, Dan. Thank you. Did anyone else have any questions? Any of the committee members? Okay, hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the Construction Management Selection Subcommittee's ranking of most advantageous as being Consigli number 1, Daniel O'Connell and Sons number 2, Commodore Builders number 3, and Turner Builders number 4. And to request that the mayor enter into final negotiations and contract execution with selection number 1, Consigli Construction. I guess I'll make that as a motion. Somebody second it. It's a lot to have to.
I second it.
Thanks, Ed. Okay, I'm going to do a roll call vote on the motion. Is there anything anybody else would like to speak about? Okay. All right, I'm going to run through the voting members. All right, Dr. Vidala.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Jared Hockman,
Yes.
Thank you. Jim Hafey?
Yes.
Thanks. Pete McGinn?
Yes.
Okay. Ryan Melville?
Yes.
Oh, good, you're here, Ryan. Thank you. Okay. Michelle Massa?
Yes.
Okay. Ed Colbert?
Yes.
Thank you, Ed. Jillian Gonzalez?
Yes.
Okay. Jen Dort?
Yes.
Okay. Elizabeth McGovern? Beth?
Yes.
Thank you. Carrie Ann Wheeler?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Carrie Ann. All right, and I vote yes as well. So that is a unanimous vote of those present. And we will send this information to Mayor Betancourt. He's scheduled to meet with the core subcommittee and begin negotiations. And with your approval, he will start that immediately. So I think we can move along to the design update.
Sure. Just before we move on to the design piece, Christine, I don't know if you have it later in the presentation, but now that we're going to have a CM on board, we are going to begin what are called OACM, Owner, Architect, and CM meetings. And I do think that it's important that we form sort of a subgroup that will meet on the day-to-day type of things. So these meetings are typically once a week and usually involves the principal, superintendent, facilities manager, and whomever else feels appropriate. But I do think we should establish that group, because what we'll do is we'll work with the mayor to execute the contract. And then once that's done, we want to get Consigli in as soon as possible and get them up to speed. And their first effort here is going to be to work with us on the schematic design estimate. And as we've talked about, the phasing and logistics is a big piece of that. So we want to get them up to speed as soon as possible. And so I would hope that this committee would like to form that smaller group. And again, I think it should definitely be Michelle, Josh, Jim, and whomever else this committee feels is appropriate, but it will entail, once a week meetings. And, certainly with Michelle, I think once the CM's on board, I think, we're probably going to have daily meetings really once we get into construction. But for the next phase here, I'd be looking to see if this group is okay with the folks that I just recommended as a subcommittee, if you will, to address the OACM meetings.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
so
send
I
it
actually
to
had
you.
it further along in our presentation under schedule update. So
I'm sorry.
yeah, it's okay. We're planning on having our first kind of kickoff meeting with the CM on 5/17. And so we did have a recommendation that included Michelle, Jim, Josh, and Bev as well. So I think that that's kind of the core group that we were looking for to participate in that conversation weekly.
Christina, I'm sorry to jump in. I think we had revised that date to the 19th on a Wednesday. Is that
Okay.
not correct?
Oh, that's right, because Mondays didn't work for the whole team. So
Yeah.
okay, so we'll change that to 5/19 as our
Thank you.
kickoff date. And then I'll just send out an email to that group confirming that Wednesdays work for the team, as well as what time of day works best as well. So I will send that today and figure out availability for Wednesdays moving forward.
Very good.
Can I ask a question about the bullet that says phasing and logistics review? And I'm wondering, does that include planning for looking at the existing conditions of the building, whether it's any of the scanning options that were discussed, doing the radar on the slab, that kind of thing?
So I think that particular bullet, Dan, that's more about police and fire and getting their input and having the CM involved in that. At the first OACM, that will be one of our first topics is to talk about learning about the building, understanding what's there, and what Consigli is going to do to help us understand all of the existing infrastructure. And so that particular bullet, I do believe, responds or is addressing mostly police and fire, City of Peabody.
So where, so your 5/17 meeting, we'll discuss that?
Yes, on the 19th. Yeah, and as Vivian pointed out, I do believe it's Wednesday, the 19th. And so
Okay.
at that meeting, we're going to ask them to help us understand their plan for learning about that existing facility. So that will be addressed at the first OACM. And so
that was one of the takeaways from the different presentations, was how the company would look at existing conditions and then integrate that into their ideas about phasing. So I want to make sure that's going to be addressed, because that's going to be a lot of work in the summertime.
Right.
yeah, absolutely. And so what we'll do is, if the group that we're showing here, if it's Bev, Michelle, Jim, and Josh, I don't know if there's anybody else who would like to be a part of that, but what we're going to do is we have a kickoff meeting agenda that we'll share with the smaller working group. And again, those are going to be the folks that are dealing with most of the day-to-day. We will report out to this committee as a whole on a monthly basis. And so during this phase, there won't be any money decisions made with that smaller working group. We'll have to talk about that when we get into construction. So this is really more about just getting through the schematic design, estimate, phasing, and logistics.
Yeah. Well, that sounds good.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take this out of order. So
That was my bad. Sorry.
So like I said, I'll send out an email to the smaller group regarding the upcoming OAC meetings and times and availability, and we can make sure that we start scheduling those and get it on that group's calendars. I'm going to go back to the design update.
Great, thanks, Christina. Good morning, everyone. We'd just like to provide a brief schematic design update on the work that we've completed since our last meeting, and also our upcoming tasks, some of which you just saw on that schedule over the next month or so. Also review the overall building floor plans and the proposed library design, which is one of the exciting parts to come out of the last month. So we're currently about 50% of the way through development of the drawings for schematic design. And over the past month, our primary focus has been on meeting with the school department to discuss each individual room in the building, including all of the furniture, equipment, and technology. So in those meetings, we've included the school principal, Dr. Vidala, and also the appropriate school and district-wide staff, so that the decisions being made are also appropriate for on the school level at the Welch, but also being made in the context of the overall district. And this exercise is kind of necessary to validate the location and size of each room, and then it meets the needs of the academic program. It's also required by the MSBA. And the room data sheets to come out of these meetings also allows us to sharpen our pencils kind of at the next step and develop our initial furniture budget and our technology budget. And we'll be concentrating on those over the next few weeks as we further develop the drawings to further develop the scope of the project for the schematic design cost estimate. From a technical standpoint, the structural engineer has completed his initial layout of the renovated core of the building, and the MEP engineers have made their initial equipment selections for items like the air handling units, hot water systems, sprinkler system, and electrical systems. And we've begun to work on the sizing of all the distribution and routing of the new services throughout the building. And as we mentioned earlier, once the CM is on board and can assist us with some more technical means of scanning above the ceilings and below the floor, that'll start to come together. Right now, my scanning has been popping a ceiling tile with a flashlight. So that'll be a good and help us to get a jump start on that. On the exterior of the building, the landscape architect and civil engineer have completed initial grading plans. And this will help us to bring all the walkways and the parking and the playground space into MAAP compliance. So we'll just get into the first floor. Next, perfect. This is a view of the first floor plan, and you'll notice an increased level of detail from our last meeting. And we're now at a point where we can show a greater level of detail, including all the windows and doors and wall thicknesses and plumbing fixtures. The overall building organization remains the same as we previously discussed, with the core academic spaces shown in light purple, organized by grade in the different quadrants of the building, and the cafeteria and the kitchen located on the left side of the core, shown in the orange, and the gymnasium is shown to the right in the red. The new administration area, nurse and trauma specialists are located at the front of the school. And then the media center located in gold at the center. And similarly, how we looked at the enlarged plan of the media center at the last meeting, we'll look at an enlarged plan of the media center in just a few minutes. Next, please. This is a view of the second floor that remains generally unchanged, with grade 5 to the left, grade 4 to the right, and then all of these special education spaces located centrally to most easily serve all students. Next, please. All right, this is a view of the new media center. By relocating this space within the core of the building, we'll be increasing the size by almost 800 square feet, which is huge for the program. It'll go from roughly 1,200 square feet to 2,000 square feet. The media center is organized into 4 quadrants. If you look at the upper left-hand corner, that's the circulation desk and work area, and this will handle all the check-in and check-out of books and serve as a hub and a work area for the librarian. Across from that, on the lower left-hand corner, is the stacks area, and that'll hold all the student volumes and also potentially some soft seating for students to read, and also some smaller work tables for either one-on-one instruction with students, or a teacher can even come in and meet with a parent one-on-one if the library isn't in use. Moving counterclockwise around the space, there's a small group instruction area located in the lower right-hand corner. And this will be a setup similar to a typical classroom, with tables and speech reinforcement system, and also one of the mobile interactive displays that can be used for interactive teaching. In the upper right-hand corner, those are a series of flexible spaces for storytelling, a maker space, and a green screen area, just based on some of the programmatic elements that the school has now. And one of the main design criteria we had for this space was to maintain flexibility. So the configuration shown here is accomplished primarily with furniture, and this will support the library and digital literacy program in the immediate future. But as a limited amount of what you've seen here is built in, it'll also allow for reconfiguration 10 to 15 years in the future if needed. Another aspect to the space, you'll notice that there are 2 exterior doors. This is required by code, but it also allows for an additional level of flexibility. So for instance, if the librarian is working at his or her desk and a student and a teacher are meeting in the stacks area, another teacher could bring their group of 20 students into the other side using the other door, use the small group area, and leave without ever disturbing the other side. And over the next few weeks, we'll be shifting our concentration from the interior to the exterior of the building. As you saw in the schedule that Christina showed, we have a working group scheduled next week, 1 week from today, where we'll discuss the massing of the new addition at the front entrance, some of the new exterior materials, and the windows. And then later in May, we have those series of meetings with the city agencies, including the school department, police department, fire department, and the building commissioner, to discuss the site design, most critical of which is the needs of the police and fire department. And even though the scope of our site design will be primarily accessibility improvements, if there are any opportunities to simultaneously make programmatic or aesthetic improvements, we'll definitely explore those if they arise. And we're excited to get into the exterior design and hope to have the results of those meetings at our next design update, and also some elevations and perspectives of the exterior. That was all I had. Donna or Vivian, if you have anything to add, please feel free, or if anyone from the committee has any questions, we'll can certainly take those now, or you can think about them and we can do them at the end. Either is fine.
I'm good.
I think everything's great. Josh and Michelle, I don't know if you have anything to add. We really appreciate you and your staff, Michelle, for making time for all of these meetings and the upcoming meetings as a follow-up to those meetings. So
thank you, Donna. We really appreciate you and your team. And I think the changes, the creativity, the innovation that has gone into this just really opens up the possibilities for the students and the staff at the Welch. And, we're really excited about the project. And I think that it exceeds our expectations already. So we're really excited about this moving on. I don't know if, Michelle, you wanted to add anything.
that's a lot of pressure, Josh.
Just wanted to say that. I just wanted to say how excited we are here at the Welch. The staff is really, really gung-ho about this project and can't wait to see it, shovel in the dirt for it. We're really excited. Thanks.
Does anybody else have anything to say? Okay, I think we can move on. It looked great. It really did. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Beth.
All right, we have a schedule update. So this is the time with all the dates.
Yeah, this is the slide you already saw, and I just wanted to kind of recap where we are within schematic design and some upcoming working group meetings that we have scheduled, as well as some of our milestone dates, just to put on your radar, knowing that summer is coming and it's a hard time for anyone to really, have the time for or the availability for a lot of our upcoming meetings. So we just wanted to make sure that it's on everyone's radar. As Jeff was explaining, and I know we've talked about, these are working group meetings that we have scheduled. If you are part of a working group meeting, you will be or should have already received meeting invites from Rachel for these upcoming meetings. Some of them haven't been scheduled yet because we are just trying to finalize dates and times. Ultimately, we do have some exterior elevation and finishes meetings, food service, plumbing review, drawing review with fire and police, an interior finishes meeting, building security and site review, phasing logistics with the CM, the fire and police department, and then also weekly OAC meetings, as we had spoken about earlier with that smaller group. So again, if you want to participate in one of these subcommittee meetings and you haven't participated before, reach out to Rachel and I. We're happy to anyone that would like to be involved and make sure that you're part of us. Otherwise, if you already are part of the working group meeting, you should have received some of these meeting invites or we're working on scheduling them.
Christina, if I could just weigh in on who participates, I would just like to have Al Tallarico, the building commissioner, consulted as to which on his team, including himself, would like to be involved in these preliminary meetings. Just because we found A, Al's on the committee, and B, there are some things that if we catch it early with our inspectors, it's a very helpful thing down the line. So offline, if you could have some discussion with Al about this bunch of meetings and where his team might want to plug into, that would be very helpful.
Sure, absolutely. I'll share our work plan with him and then just ask for whatever participation that he'd like to be a part of, or if he wants to share anything with us prior, or whatever works for him. So that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Just to follow up, Christina, I think, so everyone knows the plumbing review is specifically scheduled to sit down with the plumbing inspector just to walk through the building. It's, as Dan mentioned, it's really important to have the whole building inspectional services department understand what's going on now rather than later on down the line, which is why we want to schedule all these meetings. Definitely phasing and logistics review with the CM, fire, and police. We do want to fold the building commissioner in because we want to make sure that he's comfortable with egress to and from the building, as well as the overall phasing. So just as a minimum, we would want Al there for that meeting.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I'll find out what his availability is also on those dates, and we'll make sure that he's participating as well. And so just some of our milestone dates that we wanted to make sure are on your radar. As you know, we're in schematic design. We'll be working through schematic design at the beginning of July. We do have a community meeting tentatively scheduled for the week of June 14th. We'll want to work with the mayor as well as the core group as far as availability for that week to determine what day would work best, and we'll put that on the SBC's radar as well as far as the review that we're going to be providing and all the information that we'll be sending out to the community as far as notifications for that community meeting. We'll be working on the estimate the beginning of July. So it's about a 2-week period that we will be working with our estimators as well as the CM's estimator. And then we'll want to work with the SBC and school committee, vote to approve the schematic design submission on 8/5 and or 8/12, depending upon the information that we provide to you on 8/5. If we can go over the cost estimate review as far as if we need to proceed with any type of VE exercise, we might need an additional meeting the following week to then come together and ultimately approve that full schematic design approval and recommendation to the MSBA. So we could tentatively keep 2 meetings for that approval, and we'll make sure we get that meeting invite and information out to you so you're aware that we'll possibly need 2 meetings to approve the schematic design. And then we'll be submitting schematic design to the MSBA on August 13th. Following that meeting or that submission, we'll also be scheduling our 4th community meeting for the week of August 23rd. Again, we will work with the mayor and our core group to just confirm availability and schedule for that week as far as what time works best for everyone. We'll also send out meeting information and any community information shared as far as flyers and notifications. And then ultimately, we'll be meeting with the MSBA Board of Approval to approve their SD submission on October 27th. And then following that, we will then move forward with our project scope and budget agreement with the MSBA on October 28th. And so that's kind of a high level milestone review of our schematic design module that we're in right now and process with the project. Does anyone have any questions in regards to the upcoming schedule or milestones?
Christina, I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I realized that I forgot to let this committee know that in April, our project appeared before the MSBA for a vote. Boy, I think it was April. Was it April 14th?
Was it the 14th or?
Yeah.
It was the 14th.
It was, right. And just so everyone knows, we were moved forward again by MSBA. They were very pleased with our preliminary presentation on schematic design and everything that Doran Whittier and Danisco Design had presented, along with the materials that Josh and Michelle had put together with the staff. that all was given to MSBA. There were quite a few preliminary discussions before that, back and forth with MSBA staff members. And then on that day, MSBA Board of Directors took a vote and moved us further along. So that it's a milestone. And I apologize, I didn't even realize we hadn't told you, but that was because it occurred in April.
Yeah, well, our last meeting was our preferred schematic report approval, and then we then met with the MSBA on the April 14th for our move into schematic design. And so ultimately, that's what that meeting is that we had on April 14th with MSBA.
Right. It happened, you know, in between the two times that we have met with all of you. So just to bring you up to date on that.
Thanks, Bev.
And does anyone have any question about this, the schedule that we're looking at? Okay. Any other topics? Anybody have anything else to bring up? Okay, you're all very quiet, and I'm working blindly here. So if you have a hand up, just feel free to speak up. Okay, public comment. Is there any member of the public that wants to speak and dial in? Okay, I think we can move along. Not hearing anything in that regard. And we're always available by email and telephone calls. So please feel free, if you ever have a question, let us know.
So Bev, our next meeting scheduled for June 3rd.
June 3rd, okay. Oh my gosh, can you believe it's going to be June already?
It goes quick.
It sure does. Okay, and we'll stick with the 9:30 meeting. Is that okay with everybody? All right, we'll have a lot more information for you.
We'll have Consigli at that meeting, and have them work with Doran Whittier on maybe a 10 or 15-minute presentation about what, you know, just summarize everything that led up to them and what they want to do. Maybe a reduced version of the presentation from the interview.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's actually, it will be really, really interesting for all of you to see what they recommend on how to do this project. A lot of details and a lot of very thoughtful decisions. Paramount is safety. That's the biggest thing. So you'll see that in that presentation, and you'll get to meet all those folks. All right, thanks, Dan. And is there anything else? Anybody have any other topics to come up with? No, all right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Ed.
I'll second.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks, everybody. We're getting good at this. Look, we're out of here before 10:30. This is really good.
Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Bev.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
Take care.
Take
You
care.
all